Hey guys, Max Armstrong here, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be studying the Rook and Rook against King endgame, and how to win this. There's a very simple strategy that you can learn and memorize, and it amounts to a very quick mate, but of course not always the quickest. There are more complex strategies. The one I'll be showing you today is called the step mate, because your rooks go together and they work in steps, driving the king towards the edge of the board where they can deliver mate. The first situation we're going to look at is an enemy king in the center of the board, typically ideally situated, where they have access to these four central squares where two rooks cannot make a net mating trap, although they can with the help of their king. That is too complicated. And the answer is simply to use our rooks to drive the king all the way to the edge, where they will not be able to hold off against these two rooks delivering checkmate. Let's start with the first move, rook to g2. This plans to simply bring the rook over to here and start cutting off all of the king's potential escape squares. After this, king to e4, going closer to the rooks so as to not allow any easy checkmates. Rook to e2 check. Here we see this rook is blocking off the f file, and this rook is blocking off the e file, so the king has to go somewhere on the d file. And this is the very, very simple pattern that we'll be completing and going through today, where you have one rook blocking off the escape file, and one rook blocking off the king's file, so the king has to go one step closer to the edge of the board. King to d3, attacking this rook. Now we simply move the rook to the edge of the board, preparing rook to d1, check, driving the king further towards the end of the board. King to d2, preventing rook to d1 check. Now we have simply rook to f7, preparing rook to d7 check. Rook to d7 check, king to c4. The king is trying to get as close to our rooks as possible to try and interpose and make some trouble. Rook to c8 check, king to b5, rook to b7 check, king to a6, and now, once again, our rook is under attack, so we simply sidestep rook to b1, preparing rook to a8 checkmate, king to a7 preventing the immediate checkmate, rook to c2, king to a6, there is no move to save black here, rook a2 checkmate. So there you have it. Now, here is another situation. This is a more typical one, where your king will be slightly more active, and your rooks will be on the edges of the board, so they won't be right beside each other ready to help. We start off by simply cutting off the enemy's escape squares, cutting the board in half. King to c5, just trying to prevent this rook from getting through. Rook to a5 check, king to b6, rook to g5, and then here again we have the simple ladder checkmate where we go up one step at a time and eventually checkmating the enemy king. King to c6, rook to h6 check, king to d7, rook to g7 check, king to e8, and rook to h8 checkmate. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching to the very end. Please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Of course, I will continue uploading endgame videos as well as my classical analyses, maybe some opening videos as well, studying the Sicilian, for instance. And of course, I will keep live streaming my Lichess arenas if any of you want to check that out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.